Hi, this is how we make our maple syrup in Nova Scotia, and we're going to show you how we do it. And so we just drill a hole about 10.5 inches, and then we tap in this tap, and then we take a jug, recycle these water jugs, we recycle it, and we put it on. You can see it's dripping right there. Goes.
What do we do before the jug goes on when it's dripping?
We blow out the hole.
We blow out the hole. So we drill it with our drill.
Yeah.
And we drill a hole about 1.5 inches deep, and it has to be on a little bit of an incline into the tree so that the sap will come down. It'll run down the spigot. And this little one will show you what we do before we put the bucket on. If the sap is running, what do we do when the sap is coming out of the tap?
We catch it.
How do we catch it? How do we catch the sap?
Cool. How do we catch the sap? With our tongue.
Can you show us?
Yes.
Show us what we do. How do you catch the sap?
With our tongue.
Show me. Did you get some?
No.
Try again.
It's too high.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Yeah, it's too high. Well, this is
Can
how
you
we
show
do
us? How do we do it? And what's it taste like?
it. Sugary water.
Sugary water. Okay. It's okay. So after we have the taps in, then we've collected our water jugs all winter long, and we've made a hole in our container so that it fits right over top of our spigot. There we go. And that way, every morning when we come out, or every evening whenever we come out to collect our sap, instead of having to do too much, all we have to do is pull off the jug and open it up.
Take off the cover.
Take off the cover. And we pour it into our big jug that we take up for the fire. So we'll show you how we do that.
This is how we collect the maple syrup. We just take off the cover, and then we take off the cover like that. I showed you here. There. And turn it on again, perfect. You don't want to spill any. And then just take off our cover. The maple leaf! Oh, there's some dirt. Yeah. And then you just pour it into the jug. Sometimes I gotta watch it. And flies too.
So we found a few moths so far this season. It hasn't been a great sap season so far. The sap just isn't quite running, even though we're into the middle of March. We had a sugar moon about a week and a half ago, and we got a good run then.
We need another one, don't we?
We do. Unfortunately, there's only one sugar moon each season.
Hopefully there is.
So hopefully the sap will start running, but the days are still very cool. The nights are very cold, but we need some cold nights and warmer days to make the sap run. So hopefully that will start before too long.
Yeah.
So we go around and we collect the sap from each tree, and we dump it into the larger water jugs, which we've also collected during the winter. And we go from tree to tree.
And here's another bucket. Oh, it's pretty much ice though, I think. A little bit of sap in there. Can I go into that bucket? No. Can I throw you, Mommy? No. Can I throw you, Lucy? Be careful that doesn't chalk it, otherwise sap could go down the bucket. The next step is that we have to put it in the big containers, which I already told you, and then we put it into these buckets. Ugh, there's that scoop. And you have to make sure that stuff doesn't, otherwise it will take up the heat. And we only put a little bit in this guy, and we put all in there so that you can put it all in there, and you can see if you look there, it's a little bit golden. This one doesn't look as golden as the peanut. Just kind of, this is the hottest.
And why do we want one that gets hotter?
Because that's the finished syrup that's going to go inside and then get boiled again and then get canned up.
That's right. So when we first put it on, we put it in the big containers out front, and that's the syrup that has been sitting out in the cold, and so we put it in the big pots out front. After that starts to get warm, then we use the scoop that he was talking about, and we put it into the silver containers at the back, close to the stovepipe, where it gets really nice and warm. And then it gets nice and warm in the tall silver pans. Then we put it into the last pan, and that's where it is, as he said, is getting nice and golden. It's getting thicker. I don't know if you can see how gold it is compared to the other syrup. But the longer it boils off, the more the color changes. It becomes golden, and it becomes thicker. And that's where it starts to taste really good and sweet. I see some white foam on the top of these pans. What is that?
It's stuff that takes all the heat away. So you want to get rid of that so that syrup gets hot.
Right. So as the sap's boiling, it makes bubbles on top of the sap, and that acts as an insulator, and we don't want that there. We want the sap to get as hot as we can get it quickly, because that makes a better syrup.
And this is how you do it. So just take that and then just put it on the ground. It doesn't turn it. You want to get the bubbles.
And there we go. So we're going to spend a nice afternoon outside here with the stove, letting all of our sap boil down. And then we'll be back to show you the finishing step. And where does the finishing step take place?
Inside.
Inside the house.
Hi, this is how we do the next step on filtering it. So we filtered it once outside, and now we're filtering it for the first time inside. And when we just used the thing for dairy. So because if you just look over here, you can see some little bits of dirt and stuff and stuck on the filter there. And in here is clean sap. See? Oops. And it's nice and clean, so then we're just going to boil it in these and another pot like this.
Back over here, we've got our sap. It was out on the stove last night, and we brought it to about 215 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, so we had all the jugs of sap, and eventually it gets all boiled down into one pan. So we've brought it in, and I've got some that's already filtered. We have just a strainer that we use,
yep.
And we had been using cheesecloth, but it still doesn't filter it out quite as well. And we found these filters that they use for filtering milk at the dairies at the farms, and so we've been using this year. And the trick with these is that you have to wet them. If they're dry, the sap just kind of pours right off the side. But if you wet the filters and then lay them in your strainer, the sap will go right through, and it keeps the any little bits that have been floating around from the fire or some of the sugar sand that is in the sap. It keeps it up on top, and then you will have to go through a few or give them a rinse out. And so I'm going to continue to do this, and then we will boil it. I'm also going to bottle it today, so we'll finish up with those as well.
Now, the last thing we do is that you have to get the boiling point to 7 degrees above boiling water, and then you can pour it into the last filter, make sure that there's no sugar sand that gets made, and then you have a nice bottle like this.
And what's the best step of all?
Eating it.
So what's your favorite season of the year?
Maple syrup season!